Hello chess enthusiasts, my name is Miha and welcome to my chessrealm YouTube channel. So we are at round 6 of a Norway Chess tournament, Armageddon game between Aryan Tari and Magnus Carlsen. Let's see what happened. Aryan Tari had white pieces and he started with e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to c4, knight to f6, and we have two knights defense. Well, knight to g5 leads to a very sharp game. Instead, white goes for the quarter d3, bishop to e7, white castles king side, and black does the same, knight to c3, and now d6, pretty much standard developing moves. Now a3, bishop to g4, pinning the knight, h3, attacking the bishop. Well, I did find about 20 games with this position in the database, and in most cases bishop retreats back to h5. But here black captures knight on f3. Queen recaptures because white doesn't want to get double pawns along the f file. Knight to d4, attacking the queen. Queen goes back to d1, protecting pawn on c2. Black continues with c6, preventing any unpleasant knight to d5. Bishop goes back to a2, and now we have some redeployment of the knights. Knight to e6, knight to e2. Black strikes the center with d5. White keeps the tension and plays knight to g3. Queen c7, c3, rook from f to d8, x-raying queen on d1, and threatens to capture pawn on e4. White cannot recapture because queen on d1 is at stake. So queen to f3 was played. Rook from f to e8, bishop to e3. So black already developed his heavy pieces, but white has a bishop pair, so position is rather equal. Bishop goes to c5. Well, bishop captures on c5, then knight recaptures, putting unpleasant pressure on the backward d pawn. Instead, knight to f5 was played, preparing to remove the defender of this knight on f6. Let's see, black plays a random move, a6, then knight captures on g7. Even if king recaptures, still protecting this knight on f6, then bishop to h6. King has to go back. Queen captures knight, or white is much better, if not totally winning. If here black would dare to take the bishop, then queen f6, king h5, and g4 checkmate. Okay, so in the game g6 was played, and here knight could have gone back to g3, but here white decides to complicate things. Instead of knight to g3, queen goes to g3, preparing queen to h4 with all sort of attack. Black continues with knight to h5, attacking the queen. And now intermediate move, knight to h6 check. Naturally, king cannot go to h8 because then queen to e5 check. Queen captures, but then knight to f7, forking both pieces and gaining a pawn. So king goes to g7. Queen is still under attack, so queen goes to g4. Another not so sound move. You can feel instantly, but it's not easy to prove that, so we are in muddy waters, as we call it. Knight is protected by the bishop, so bishop captures, bishop on e3. Removing the defender, white of course cannot recapture with f-pawn because knight is at stake. So knight goes to f5 check. Pawn is pinned, so cannot capture. King goes to h8. Now here, if white recaptures the bishop with knight, then knight from h to f4. This pawn on d3 cannot be successfully defended because after, let's say, rook from a to d1, then h5 traps the queen. Queen to g3, knight to e2, forking king and the queen. And after queen h4, simply g5, queen cannot go anywhere. After queen f3, knight g5. Either way, white queen is lost. So in the game, f-pawn captures bishop on e3, g-pawn captures knight on f5, and here white should have simply captured knight on h5. The position would be roughly equal, but in the game, e-pawn captures pawn on f5. Both knights are still attacked. White is going to gain a piece back. Still, this was not the best move. Black continues with knight jumps on f4. E-pawn captures and knight recaptures. So black managed to occupy f4 square, targeting g2 square. Rook to g8 is the threat. So white plays queen to h4, rook to g8. And here white should defend g5 with g4. Still black would capture pawn on d3 and would be much better. But in the game, queen to f6 was played check. Rook has to go to g7 and now d4. Black of course cannot capture on d4 because then rook captures knight on f4. And if queen recaptures, then rook on d1 is for free and white is, sorry, d8 is for free and white is winning. So in the game, knight captures pawn on h3. Check. G-pawn cannot recapture because it's pinned. If king goes to h2, then e-pawn captures on d4 and we have this cover check from the queen. So king would have to go back to h1, because after king captures knight on h3 would result in queen g3 checkmate. So anyway, king goes to h1 was played. Now here black should continue with knight to f4. After knight to f4, black threatens with knight h5, attacking the queen, and then knight g3, forking king and the rook. Black, however, played knight to g5. So we have a similar idea: knight to e4, attacking the queen, and then knight to g3. Now here, however, black gave white the opportunity to equalize with queen to e5. After queen e5, queen captures, d-pawn recaptures, knight to e4. Now black threatens with knight g3. Rook g8 is also unpleasant. White bishop is totally blocked, so black is better here, but he would need a lot of precision to convert the advantage. In the game, however, rook from a goes to e1, and that was a fatal blunder. White gives black the opportunity to play rook d6. Queen captures pawn on e5, as there aren't any other free squares for the queen. Rook to h6 check. King g1. Well, we have mate in maximum 6 moves, but there are more options. One is, for example, queen to e5. After queen to e5, king of course can run to f2, but that wouldn't save him. So if rook captures on e5, then knight h3 check. G-pawn is pinned. So after king h2, or king h1, whatever, then knight f4, discover check. King g1, rook g2, checkmate. Okay, so in the game, black starts with knight h3 check. King h1, knight f4 check, king g1, queen captures queen on e5, well, with bishop to d5, and maybe rook capturing the knight on f4. White can delay the mate for a couple of moves. If rook captures on e5, then rook to g2 checkmate. And therefore, in this position, Aryan Tari resigned the game. So I hope you like this game, I hope you have learned something from it. If you have any questions, my email is below in the description. Of course, I invite you to visit my Instagram page. That's it for now, and see you soon.